You are live on PM Express. My guest tonight is Dr. Antonia Kotose. I must say, it's been quite a while since we had him on any of our platforms, not even talk about multimedia alone, anywhere in the media space. He's been quietly doing his job. After all, he is the minister responsible for monitoring and evaluation. And today at the results fair, there was a suggestion that a lot of the ministers fear him. I don't know why they suggested so, because maybe he's the man who awards the grades that determines whether you stay or go. There's no perception about the mystery surrounding the man, Dr. Antonia Kotose, the minister, and he's my guest today. Thank you, Doc, for your time here on PM Express.
Thank you very much.
It's been a long time since we had you speak to us in the media space on any issue. Although I've listened to you on the floor of Parliament on a host of other issues. We are here today for the results fair. What is the point of the results fair? What is it?
Simply put, is to provide an opportunity for the government agencies to showcase what they've done for the past 3 years. Very often, we don't know the full story of what they do. In cabinet, I assess them within a constrained environment, so the full story is never told. I'm sure people would have learned, for example, under the Ministry of Trade, that the one district, one factory is not the biggest part of their program. When you hear trade, you think it's only one district with one factory. Well, it's not true. So we wanted them to showcase what they've done on their own, so that it is not me saying it. We assess them in cabinet, but the rest of Ghana does not know.
So this is for the public to know what you're doing?
This is for the public to know, and for they themselves to get a reaction from the public as to whether or not they are happy where they're going.
Are you happy at where you're going?
Yes, certainly.
Based on your...
In fact, this is why we wanted to do it, because we thought that they had done enough that the public ought to know and be happy about it.
So you think where you are 3 years on, you've done enough work for now to allow the public to scrutinize?
Definitely.
What you've done?
I think we have.
But is this forum, I guess, more cosmetic than in substance?
No, I think if you go through the booths, you'll see that it's more cosmetic. The panel discussion gives a background for the various ministries. But if you go through the booths and go to the Minister of Water and Sanitation, you'll be amazed as to what they've done that most people don't know. And we wanted them to tell their own story.
So a bit of the fair today was the president himself launched it.
Yes.
And then he makes the point that give me 4 more years.
Yes. That is why
I can't resist but ask you, this is a political gimmick.
No, it's not. You see our theme, delivering results for our citizens, a work in progress. We are not finished. It's a continual work. And so we are suggesting that, look, at what we've done, we think that we can do more.
Every government in the election year wants to showcase what they've done. There's always the perception that if you do it in quiet, people will know.
Well, I don't know if every government does that. This is the first ever results fair that we've had. I don't think any government has done that. But we feel it's necessary for the government to tell its own story through the implementing agency. I'm not an implementing agency, but if Minister of Special Development Initiatives tells her full story, I think Ghanaians will know. And there's nothing wrong in saying, look at what I've done, keep me in. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
But that is the whole purpose of this, isn't it?
No, it's accountability. Show Ghanaians why they elected you. You promised you do this. What are you doing? Do they really know what you're doing? So tell them.
It is in the conference center, though.
Yes.
And the challenge with this place is it's very exclusive. I mean, but the vast majority of the Ghanaians who really will decide December 7th will not be part of it. They won't know.
That is why when you say it's political, we know that here we cannot reach everybody. We are going to take it around the regions and tell the story. But at least those in Greater Accra, students, chiefs, anybody else, it's a good opportunity.
Recently, there's been some controversy about how much of what you promised the electorate you have delivered. The president has been quite vocal on putting a percentage to what you've achieved in terms of the promises, those you've achieved and those you're in the process of achieving, at 72%. Yes. Now, when he put that figure out recently, the challenge was, where's the evidence? And we were promised that we will see the evidence.
Yes.
Where's the evidence?
The evidence is available. It's going to be shown to cabinet tomorrow, and then it can become public.
Oh, you're going to show it to cabinet. The cabinet hasn't approved it yet.
No, it's available with in the vice president's office.
Okay.
But it's not a matter of approving. It's making it known to us so that we also will know. Not everybody knows all of it, but the vice president's office has done the homework, so he's going to let us know in cabinet that, look, this is why I said it's 72%, so that the rest of us can follow.
Is that to suggest that when the president said it, the rest of you have not seen it?
Not all of us. Those of us who were close with the vice president knew the information, but not every member of cabinet has seen it. Because what the vice president was doing was not to work for us. He was gathering evidence to give to the president so that the president can make those statements.
How much input did I guess, as we've seen today, a lot of that data will come from the ministry.
Definitely.
How much input did the ministries put in? Those who are actually implementing this?
All of the information is coming from the ministries. The vice president has also gone around collecting some of this information.
But it appears that a lot of them, the ministers themselves, will be seeing this for the first time tomorrow.
No, as for the individual ministers will know what they've done. They may not know what the rest have done.
Okay.
The Minister of Special Development can authoritatively speak on what she has done. She may not know what the Ministry of Water Resources and Sanitation has done. So we all get to know more. That is part of the problem. We are not communicating enough, even among ourselves. I don't know any one person in Ghana who knows what all the ministers have done. This is the first time I heard some of my colleagues saying, oh, the Minister of Trade is saying all this. Minister of this is the first time I'm hearing about it. It's a shame.
And I'm supposing that tomorrow there'll be some scrutiny of this, because I've heard in Parliament, this current government, he's very, very keen on scrutinizing and allowing people to scrutinize. So this is not going to be Minister, Vice President presents it, everybody says clap and go. There's going to be scrutiny.
No, he'll be reporting facts. We are not going to debate it. If Minister of Trade and Industry says, I have 58 factories in operation, it's evidence. People can check for it. So the Vice President is not going to invite us to go and check. It can be proven.
I'm assuming these are already been verified facts that they're going to present.
Definitely. You know, the Vice President is a very meticulous person. He will not just accept what people say. And so I'm sure that they've done their homework.
The curious minds, though, civil society say, well, cabinet is going to see it. But what was the basis of that figure, though?
He went through the manifesto and then went to the sector ministers to see what we said in the manifesto and what they had done. It's a simple analysis. When Imani did it, nobody asked them for the evidence.
No, they produced the evidence.
Which evidence? From who? From which ministry?
I know they've met you.
No, they never met you. That is the problem. But I was surprised.
That shouldn't be a problem.
No, it's a problem. You go out and make this statement without even talking to the Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation. Where is their data coming from?
Subsequent to the announcement.
Subsequent, they have not made it. My people have tried to talk to them that they ought to be careful when they go out and make statements. But I was not talked to.
But they put the evidence out.
But the evidence is not fact-based.
It is. I
It's
mean,
not.
This is what Imani said. And
What did they say?
it's very simple. They say, in your manifesto, they counted 510 promises you made.
Yes.
Out of the 510 promises you made, those you've managed to complete in full came down to 140.
And who did they talk to?
But that is verifiable from the ministries
They don't have
and available
they don't
documents.
have the information, all the information from the ministries. That is my problem. Ask them if they got to every ministry and verified. For example, how many toilets have been produced by the Ministry of Water and Sanitation? They cannot give you that. Where else did they get it from? It's their imagination. It's not based on facts.
They're documents that go to Parliament.
No,
the documents that the ministries
more than
publish.
the document. You go to the ministries and get the information. You don't use secondary data and assume it is true. They have not done proper homework. I mean, I respect them, but in this case, I think they're wrong. Like I said, they don't. We assess the ministries every quarter. They did not talk to us. We have a government resource framework in which we assess the ministers on the basis of agreements. They didn't come and ask us about this.
So their stats say, first, 510 promise. You agree that is the number of promises you made?
Well, we have to go to the manifesto and check. How do they define the promises? And that's why I'm saying that.
But you could count.
No, but
In fact, I've been taking my time to do. You could actually take them one by
Yeah,
one and
but-
have 110, 510 of them.
but we have to check that is true.
But you haven't checked.
I have not checked.
So
the
why?
the vice
what's the
president's office has
basis
checked?
for your dispute of the?
No, the vice
statistics?
president's office has checked. He's followed up and done. So I don't dispute it. But I have not personally checked. But the vice president's office has done that and checked.
They say that you've only managed to complete in full 140. If you dispute them, you must give me an alternative figure.
Of course, the vice president's office will have that information.
But
I don't doubt that.
you are the sector minister for
I
monitoring
told you
evaluation.
we have a government resource framework in which we are not evaluating them on every promise, on specified KPIs that we've identified, not on every promise. There's a difference. They are going by promises.
What's the difference?
They are going by promises. We are going by a resource framework that is constrained to specific areas.
Can you give me details, elaborate
No, it's
on the
it's-
resource framework?
For example, we go to Ministry of Trade and say, identify your three highest priorities. Show us the activities, the timelines, the outcomes, and what you expect for each one. That does not cover all the promises. Today, the Minister of Trade spoke. In the resource framework, we evaluate them on the basis of one district, one factory. But if you listen to what he talked about, they go beyond that. So it depends on who is doing the evaluation and for what purposes. Looking at promises does not mean that you're assessing them properly. I don't know any government anywhere that can fulfill all promises. And I think in these matters, there's an objective way of evaluating. Go to the people, sit down, look, this is what we've assessed, let us argue, and go and put it on the data. I mean, a lot of people say that my ministry, they don't know what we do. My job is not to come public and tell them what I do. My work is for cabinet. Cabinet uses that information to assess president, to look at how the ministries are doing. My job is not to name and shame. My job is to facilitate the work of the ministries. If, for example, the Minister of Agri tells me that his money from finance is not coming, I go to finance. What is going on? Can you tell us why you have not sent their money? When are you going to send it? We follow up. That facilitates the work of the ministries.
So, on the figures that we've just been debating, the Imani figures and what you believe to be your counter figures. I mean, you said the 5% will put it out. The public, though, at the heart of this, you make promises to the public.
Sure.
You say you have a resource framework.
Yes.
But the public will judge you based on what you promised
Yes,
them in your
but
manifesto.
part of the resource
Not
framework,
what your framework
part of the
says.
resource framework is part of the promises. But it's not every promise that public expects that will complete in 4 years. There's no way you can complete every factory in one constituency in
That
4
is
years.
deceiving the
No,
public.
we did not deceive
You
the
made
public.
a categorical promise
Said we
based on which we gave you a
We
mandate.
said we'll
3 years in, if you
we
say
said we produce a factory in every constituency.
Yes.
We did not say within 4 years.
No,
There's
you said
nowhere.
within
no,
4
no, no.
years.
Go and check.
you said
See,
the president was clear
No, no.
with that
We are going to-
within in my first term
where did the president say
on
that?
many
No,
platforms.
no. The
Now,
I'm talking about the one district, one
One factory, yes.
Yes, because
but
building
you
a
have a
factory.
first term. You only have a constitutional
Yes.
mandate for 4 years.
Yes.
So when you say
Yes.
one district, one factory,
Yes.
constitutionally,
Yes.
you have 4 years to deliver that.
Yes.
So you can't say that you didn't say 4 years.
Constitutionally, we have no, but I'm saying that we said one district, one factory.
Yes, you have to deliver that in
We didn't
4
say
years.
how many we can complete in 4 years.
No, you said
We didn't judge ourselves.
No, you said one district, one
One
factory
factory,
means
yes.
one
That is
district,
the-
one factory
that
in
is
4
the
years.
objective. It doesn't mean that we can complete all of it. It's the objective. Have you ever set targets for yourself?
Dr. Antinakoto said
Have
you
you ever
are an astute politician.
Yes.
When you start campaigning in 2016,
Yes.
you knew you have 4 years.
Yes.
So whatever you were promising to do for
Yes.
us, you were promising us to deliver within the 4 years that the Constitution
That is
gives
what
you.
we hope we will
So
do.
when you say you deliver one district, one factory, it is as simple as that.
No, it's not
It
as
is
simple
in
as
the
that.
name. It is in the name. One district, one factory.
Yes. That
In
we-
4 years.
We expect that in 4 years we could complete one district, one factory.
Yes.
If we don't complete it, we should not be embarrassed because we know that the process of completing it is tough. You set high targets. It doesn't mean that you achieve all of them, and you should not be embarrassed. The question that you should ask is, how far have we gotten?
We'll come to that. But I need to ask the question based on what you've just said, because this is important. We are 11 months to an election. Based on what you just said, and the interest of what you just said about don't be embarrassed, would you look into the eyes of the Ghanaian public who expected you to deliver all 254 factories in every district tell them that
I don't think you can speak for Ghanaians.
We cannot.
No, please. And I don't think you can speak for Ghanaians and say categorically that they all expected that there'll be 275 factories in all constituencies. I don't think you
But
refer
that's
to
the
yourself.
promise.
No, but I'm saying that I don't think you yourself you believe that could be done.
But that is.
So the Ghanaians
So
were
when
asking,
you were saying that you didn't believe it could be done.
No. Ghanaians are going to ask. So those factories, how many have you done? Then you say, look, this is how many we've done. The rest, this is the process, and let them charge us. But don't make the judgment for them.
Can you deliver one factory in every district before December 7, 2020?
I don't know. From what the minister said, I don't believe that all 275 will be ready. Because keep in mind, it's not the government producing the factories. It's the private sector, and you cannot force the private sector to produce a factory. You can only facilitate. If you look at the two, then it's not possible to say that you can deliver, because it's not upon you. You are facilitating. Look, as I speak, about 2 months ago, there were 150 constituencies for which we have not found sponsors. Now, how can the government promise that if you have 150, they can force 150 people to build their factories? It's not possible. So you look at every promise and you look at the process of getting there. In certain cases, you have control. If the Ministry of Special Development Initiative says, I will build 100 dams, that one we have control because it is being implemented by government agencies. One district, one factory, it's not being implemented by the government. So there's a difference.
But it is your initiative.
To facilitate the private sector, yes. To build one factory in every constituency. Subject to that, that's what you can do. You can't force the private sector.
Would you say, 3 years on hindsight, than the heat of the 2016 campaign?
No, at all.
The way it was couched. And I know you are a sincere politician,
I don't think
the way it was couched, one district, one factory.
I don't think we took time enough to explain to people what it was involved. I think later on, people have understood it better. For example, people thought that one district, one factory means one new factory per new district.
Yes.
No, that was never the case.
But whose fault is that?
That's
your fault as a politician.
It's not the fault.
You deceive the public.
No, it's not a matter of deceit. It's
deliberately.
It's not communicating.
You wanted their votes.
Why would we deliberately confuse the public? No.
But now you are explaining.
No.
But you could have done it then.
I'm saying it's a matter of not communicating well.
Deliberately, I suggest to you.
No, I don't think so.
Because there was an election to win.
I think you are being disingenuous if you use the word deliberately. No person in government would deliberately lie for that purpose. It doesn't help.
No, then you were in opposition.
No. Even in opposition, you don't lie. You talk about what you are capable of doing. I'm saying we did not take our time to communicate the full details. Because, as I said, even today, most people still did not know that it includes all factories, even up to 3 years later. So we have not communicated well. Part of the reason we are doing this is to be able to communicate. I was sitting down telling the Vice President that, look, Mr. Vice, all this we have done, most people don't know. This is a part of the reason we are doing the results fair. Even we ourselves, we don't know all that our colleagues have done. And it is not deliberately concealing information. It is the way we do things.
The way politicians campaign.
I don't think so.
Is that more accurate way to put it?
No, I don't think so. Don't forget, I don't think that the president can go every place and make promises on his own. I think there's a manifesto, and that is why you need somebody to follow it to be able to make sure that they are going well at the right time. You don't assume that they are going to happen.
You said that the One District, One Factory initiative also included old and previously existing factories.
Yes. But initially, it was not understood. People didn't understand that way.
Is it a case of we misunderstanding you or you failing to communicate what you plan to do in a way that people can understand and judge you and hold you to?
I think if we fail to miscommunicate, then you will not understand it. But it's a combination of both. Because people also wanted to believe what they want to believe.
This is the electorate that voted for you, you're talking about.
Yes.
That the electorate wanted to believe what they wanted to believe.
No, that's not what I'm saying. That we did not communicate enough for them to understand that it was for both and new. So it's not a person's fault per se.
It is not the electorate's fault.
No,
It is
I'm not
purely
even,
entirely
I'm not even
the
imputing fault on anybody.
Yeah.
Not communicating well does not mean that you are doing something wrong. We are human beings.
So we didn't misunderstand. You failed to
No,
communicate.
I don't know what
we have to clarify that.
It depends on what you wanted to understand. If you truly wanted to
But
understand,
there you
no,
go
I'm coming.
again about the electorate.
No, I'm talking about you, the electorate. If you don't understand something, you should ask. That's part of the reason we're doing this. What you don't understand,
But
you
you
should
were
also ask.
asked.
No.
I remember as a journalist, we asked the questions
You
on
asked
behalf
who?
of the people.
If you ask the
in
Minister of Trade,
2016,
I'm telling you, if you ask the Minister of
when-
Trade, you'd have gotten the right answer.
Here's what I can say to you, and I know this for a fact. Alan Chemanting was one of those people who the president during campaigning was the first to say, when I come to power, he will be my trade minister. It rarely happens, but in this case it did. And we had many occasions of asking the question about one district, one factory.
Yes, but
I did.
I can
and
tell
he
you,
insisted
I can
that
tell you
we
for a
will
fact
deliver in
that
4 years.
Alan Chemanting never said, I'm going to produce one new factory per. I'm telling you, he never said that. If you have contrary evidence, let me know. He never said
on
that.
the face, without explaining, on the face of the term, the phrase,
Yes, but
it means exactly that.
No. You are not getting me. Did Alan Chemanting ever tell you that I'm going to have one new factory per constituency?
Alan Chemanting.
No, I'm coming. Listen to
I'm
me.
going to say what he said.
No, you are going to say what you think he said.
No,
I'm asking you what he said.
I'm going to quote your manifesto. It says one district, one factory.
Yes.
That's what it says.
Yes.
That's it.
But did he say new or old?
He
You are
didn't say that.
interpreting it to be new. That's your subjective interpretation.
So-
So if you are not sure, you should ask Alan Chemanting, what do you mean?
It isn't me, though. It
No,
is the electorate that voted for
What I'm
you.
saying to you, that's how you are interpreting it. Because you just made the quote. In there, he never said new or old.
So the explanation.
So why do you insist on evaluating him on new? Why do you do that? There are several ways you could go, isn't it?
I would want for us to speak with the electorate and the voters in mind.
Yes, but I'm saying
Because
that
they made the decision
And
based on what you told them.
your judgment is that the electorate thought it was all new. I don't believe your judgment is correct.
Not even about the newness or oldness of the
No,
factories.
but
just in the name of it, in terms of quantum.
yes.
We had 254 districts. Let's give it to you. When you came, it was
Yes.
260.
Yes.
When you were making a promise.
Yes.
So let's work with that.
Yes.
216. When you're making the one
Yes.
district,
Yes.
one factory,
Yes.
you need to do 216 districts.
Yes.
So, on the face of it,
Yes.
the expectation was.
Yes.
Was that a fair expectation based on what you
Yes,
told us?
because
Was it a fair expectation?
we expected the private sector to take up the mantle and do that. But we know that it is not us implementing it.
So did you know then that it would be possible in 4 years?
No, we didn't think that way. Because even the processes of getting financial aid took much longer than everybody thought.
So at the time of the promise, you were convinced you could
We
do
were
it in 4
convinced
years.
that the private sector will come along.
But you've had a reality check.
No, of course. Once we start implementing, we have the reality check. Even preparing some of the companies for financing from the banks takes a long time. You cannot force GCB to give credit to a company that you are recommending. The processes are longer than we expected. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Here's the
So
thing.
you change your things to make sure that you get to where you are going.
So based on what you've done so far, what is the reassessment look like?
I
with
will not be in a
district?
position to tell you what I
In the
don't
budget,
think.
this is what the finance minister said, that as of the time he was reading the budget, 180 projects are spread across 110
in various stages
districts.
of completing.
58 are in operation, so
Yes.
done and
That's correct.
rolling out.
I think the president repeated
26 under construction.
that today. Yes.
97 are about to
Yes.
begin. Based on this, what do you hope to do by December 7th?
By the end of the second quarter, I'll be able to tell you. I would have done the assessment.
Okay.
I used to do a quarterly assessment. Now I'm going to do a monthly assessment. So on the basis of that, I'll be able to give you a better judgment.
Okay.
Certainly, by July, I can give you a better estimate of what I think is really doable.
So if the one district one factory includes old and existing factories, so it means that some of John Mohammed's factories will going to be counted as
John Mahama-
a success story under your initiative.
John Mahama never put up a factory.
There's a Commander Sugar Factory.
It's not John Mahama factory. Let's get things right.
I mean, he used taxpayers' money to do it, but it was his government.
The factory never worked. Do you know that? Why? So why are you pretending that there was a factory? But look, let's face fact. That factory never worked. We are trying to bring it back together. It was started by Mills, and we know it never worked. And Alan Chamati has tried to get some private people to go in there. But the factory never operated.
There was a tomato factory he revived in the north.
Why would he call it that if he revived a factory when you know Commander factory was not working?
There was a tomato factory he started, he revived in the north, in Polugu.
There's nothing wrong with that. This started it. I don't see anything wrong with reviving.
But my question is, that is his factory that you are counting as part of your success.
We don't call this John Mahama because John Mahama never put up a tomato factory. He came
revived.
and met that factory.
Yes, that
and he tried to revive it.
Yes.
It was never in operation. When you say revive it, what happened? It was not complete. We are continuing, and that's how government should be.
Will you at least give him credit? Because if it's part, then my point is, if it's also old factories,
Yes.
then all the presidents before you
Yes.
must take credit for one district, one factory.
What is wrong with that?
I have.
They cannot take credit for all the factories.
I'm talking about all the presidents would have contributed
They can
to
take
your
credit
initiative.
for some factories that was done in their time that we have revived.
True.
It's not every factory that they did that we are reviving.
So are you prepared to give them credit
What is wrong with that? We
For-
are continuous
for
government.
helping you achieve one of your flagship
We are
initiatives?
not saying they helped us achieve. We came to meet things and we will continue. That's the way government should be. So what is wrong with giving them credit? I don't have any problem with that. Otherwise, governments cannot succeed governments.
And just for final clarity on this as we move on, so if anybody expected you to do 254 factories
260 something.
in all districts, you're saying we can't do that.
No,
it's
that's
not realistic.
That's not what I said. I said that what we expected to do. As of now, I cannot tell if we can do that by the end of the December. That's why I said by July, I'll be able to give you a better assessment.
But if you've done 58
in
3 years
in operation.
I mean, and I know you're a scientific man.
No, 58 in operation. 26, 26.
It's
not unlikely
it's putting
that-
it mild to say that it's impossible to do the remainder of 196 districts in 11 months.
Keep in mind, we talked about 181 in various stages of completion.
Yes.
So maximum, it look like you are looking at 181.
True.
But even then, you have to do a real assessment
but
to tell.
I get your point.
We will not be able to complete 265, clearly.
Yes, that's my question to you.
No.
My question is that it's you cannot finish 254 by
on the
December.
basis of where we are now, I would not expect that we will complete 266.
That is Dr. Antonia Kotose. We take a quick break. When we return, there are many other issues that, of course, we would like to pick his brain on. I'm curious to know their relationship with the NDPC, because the NDPC does some good work in terms of helping us plan our development. So how has the government plugged in into the plan that the NDPC has been putting in place? We'll speak to him about that. And then the controversial question about, is his scorecard going to lead to a reshuffle? Well, stay with us. We're still on PM Express. My guest is still Dr. Anthony Akutose. He is the Minister responsible for monitoring and evaluation. Doc, the NDPC does a lot of work in planning our development. I wonder what is the sort of the relationship between yourself and them?
You know, NDPC is a constitutional body that is supposed to do the long-term planning for the government. Once they have their framework, what we do, my ministry takes a sample of what they do, puts it in the short term, and report on it on a real-time basis. NDPC may take a year or so to assess something. Cabinet, on a quarterly basis, needs information on what is going on these projects and programs, and that's what we do. Real-time assessment of government progress. We cannot wait till the end of the 4 years to assess what we are doing. We need to know on a frequent basis what is going on. So we work together.
Okay. Is the government approach one that tries to integrate with what they already have? Because I know they spend lots of money.
Sometimes, yes, sometimes government also has new programs. If there's an overarching document, the coordinated policies and programs of government, which comes from the NDPC, but it's a dynamic document. When new programs come, we have to try and incorporate them and see. But what is most important that we have to keep in mind is that our mandate is 4 years. So we cannot wait till 4 years to look at the long term. The previous NDPC had a 40-year plan. 40 years, some of us will not be living. So why would I be interested in what is happening in 4 years? However, I should be interested in what is achievable in 4 years so that the government can know what to do before it continues.
You raise an important point. Should the NDPC change the way they do the planning there?
I think that the Constitution mandates them to do long-term planning. And we have to look at that. Long-term, meaning after 5 years. It said if you don't plan, you fail. And if you fail to plan, you won't succeed. So there needs to be some plan. But it should not be the document that you live at 100%. That document must be a living document, and changes must be made. If tomorrow, God forbid, there's a war between Iran and US, the whole economic atmosphere changes. You don't say, I have my long-term plan, so I'm going to stick to it. You have to amend it.
What has been your experience in describing the relationship between political promise and real government policy? You know, politicians make one promise, but when you come to government, from what I've heard so far on the One District, One Factory, I get the sense that things change when you come to government. I'm curious to know what your sense of that relationship is.
My experience is that every government that is not in power makes promises on the basis of the information that they know. Once they come to government, the reality of the conditions forces them to amend some of those. It's a reality check. If, when we came to government, we did not know that the deficit was 9.3. Now, if it's 9.3, there's no way all your promises can be fulfilled. So you have to bring the 9.3 down to 5, if you can even to 3, to be able to do this. So the reality check must set in. You don't say because I promised and therefore that's what I'm doing. It's not possible. Conditions will change and you must amend. But you have to explain it to people.
Should that change the way politicians campaign and promise?
I don't think so, because there's no way outside of government you know all the facts. The outside government, you don't know all the facts. When Kufuor took office in 2001, some of us who were not in government knew we were HIPIC, but we didn't know how deep we were in HIPIC and what we had to do to be able to change. When we came, we realized that look, we are really HIPIC. We must admit it and go forward. That was a change in strategy. But if we had not come to government, now the previous government knew we were HIPIC, but they refused to admit that we were HIPIC to be able to move forward. So it depends. The reality check must set in, and I think if you're a smart government, you have to amend appropriately.
Should politicians still continue to promise milk and honey?
No, I don't think politicians promise the world. They promise on the basis of what information they have.
But
so
sometimes
some promises,
unrealistic.
Some may be unrealistic, but it's unrealistic. If you don't have all the facts, it will be unrealistic. And we don't have all the facts. We cannot have all the facts.
Shouldn't that then measure what you say? And
No,
what you
so that's the best information you have from your research. Doesn't mean that your research is correct. But you make promises on the basis of information that you have. Sometimes you may have gone on wrong. And you need to accept, but once you come in, you need to look at the facts and amend appropriately.
Are you meeting, when I say you, your government, is the government meeting its expectations 3 years in? At this time of your life as a government, is this where you expect it to be?
No, I personally expected more from where I sit. I've given them higher expectations. But it doesn't mean that they have not performed. It's just the way I work. I set very high expectations so that I can go more. So if you ask me personally, I'll say I think we could have done more. It doesn't mean that we have not done a lot.
In what areas could you have improved?
I think in all areas we can improve. We are human beings. And there's no way that you can be perfect. And you need to admit that, look, if I put in extra effort, I can get better results. So that one is standard. And I think everybody must accept that no matter what you do, you cannot be 100%. But move towards 100%. The question is, do you know how to do it? Very often, excuse me, the problem is that we don't even access to know where we are to be able to say whether we are doing well or not. And that is why we need some of us to give a reality check and say, Mr. President, I think that we said we'll be here, but we are not there. So why aren't we there? What do we have to do to get it there? And let's get there.
I hear you speak, and I can't resist my ask. You appear to do a lot of work, but you almost operate, as far as the public is concerned, in the shadows. What do you really do?
That's how I like to operate. I operate to give cabinet as much information as possible, so that government will have a reality check on where it is. So that's why I say the product of my work is mostly for cabinet's consumption. When I do a quarterly assessment, we all read it. So I can go to Ministry of Special Development Initiative and say, on this quarter, this is my assessment of what is going on. If we do A, B, C, D, we can do better. Then cabinet will either agree or say we don't agree, but we agree with some, we don't agree with some. So let's together agree that we'll do A, B, C, D, such that they'll get there. That's what all governments should do. But don't forget, the monetary evaluation has always been part of every government. It was there with Mills, it was there with Kufuor. The only difference is that now there's a ministry set up specifically for that. Don't forget, Tony Edu was in charge of M&E.
Yes.
The problem is that if you are not in cabinet, how do you give the information to cabinet? So being a cabinet minister or being a member of a cabinet helps me make my case. So your colleagues listen to you better. But if you're outside cabinet and even ask them to give you information, some of them won't. So that's the only difference. But M&E has always been around.
Dr. Antonia Kutose is still my guest. We'll take a quick break. We'll return other matters that, of course, are of interest. And I've just indicated earlier that we'll still ask that dreaded question of how he's perceived in every sector. The guy who monitors is the most hated. Is that the case for him? Stay with us. You're still on PM Express. My guest is still Dr. Antonia Kutose. Doc, you've just described the work you do. So you're the man who goes to the president and says, on this particular area, in this particular area, we may be falling short. No. And then you probably propose...
No, I don't go to the president. I go to cabinet, and together we review my assessment of what the ministries have done within the confines of the government results framework. This is what cabinet has agreed that we do. As far as I know, in this quarter, this is what this sector is doing. And these are the reasons why I think they're not achieving it. My recommendation is that we need to change this, we need to change that. Cabinet will say, we disagree with you or we agree with you. So we accept some recommendations, and the next quarter we see this improvement. I don't go directly to the president.
Okay.
I do it in cabinet.
Well,
so otherwise, it's as if I'm going.
I'm bypassing. I'm bypassing.
When we started, some of my colleagues called me the IGP of ministers, but it's not correct. I'm facilitating the work of my colleagues. My job is not to name and shame. My job is to ensure that what we've agreed to do, we find mutually beneficial ways of achieving our results.
What's your relationship with your other colleagues?
Very well, very well. Because my experience in government, in Kufuor's government, gave me a broad enough view of almost every ministry, being a Ministry of Finance. And so I pretty have a good idea of how most of the ministries work. And I think with your colleagues, if they see that you are trying to facilitate their work, I'll give you a good example. This fair was originally meant for the 17 flagship programs.
Yes.
But you see, there are more ministries here than there were. And in fact, one sector, somebody was insulting me that I didn't ask the president to come around. So now, if you provide a forum for them, they are eager to use that forum to show what they are doing. That is my job.
It's a job that, I mean, in the grapevine I've heard, and people have heard, that the president, if he intends to do a reshuffle, might fall on some of the material that you brought before cabinet?
He never tells me. The last time he did an assessment of all of us on his own. I was assessed, every minister was. He may fall on some of the material that I've done, but that's up to him. He should use other instruments apart from what I have done. Mine may be objective within the context of what we've agreed on, but there are other reasons why he should assess people. So at least mine is harmonized. It's something we have all agreed on. So people cannot fault him and say, on this basis, you are being subjective.
Okay. So you attempt to give an objective basis for assessment?
I have to.
Okay.
First of all, I discuss all my results. In fact, we work together with the ministries and Ministry of Finance to agree on what I've seen. Sectors bring me information. Finance brings me information. I do my assessment, and I say, look, this is what I'm finding. If you disagree, why? Tell me why, and your reasons. And so that it's not a surprise to them when I do my reports.
Do you expect a reshuffle this year?
I cannot speak for the president.
I mean, your expectation. I mean, not for the president.
Personally, I don't know the value in doing a reshuffle 9 months before an election. My advice would be, look, we have a few more months to election. Let each sector minister consolidate all the gains they have made. And then after that, if you are doing a reshuffle, because if you reshuffle me and put me in a new place, the learning curve is steep. 9 months is not enough for me to change the whole thing around. So I think that assess where everybody is. Know what needs to be done in 9 months to complete as much as possible. And then wait till 2021 and reshuffle. Then you give people more time.
So you will not advise any changes as far as
If I were asked,
the government structure?
I would not.
Okay.
If I'm asked. But the president doesn't have to ask me.
Yeah, but I get your point. But some may suggest, and this is putting my political hat on, that in an election year, politics over policy sometimes, and so you must make a few tweaks there for that purpose.
If there is a major incident that gives the president reason to reshuffle, of course, it is his prerogative. But I'm saying if things are normal, then there's no reason for. But anything can happen in politics.
Yeah.
Politics, a day is
a long time. And you make the point about if everything is normal. Have you, I mean, the government, done enough to get another term?
Oh, I think so. I think so. In fact, I said it earlier. There's not one person in Ghana who can tell you all that the NPP government has done. We don't know. We don't give them opportunity to tell us enough. But I think, even from my limited view, I think we've done enough. As the president said, that's why we say it's a work in progress. There's a lot more that we can do. My expectations are very high, and I expect that in 6 months, you even see a difference.
So there is a self-assessment. The president has put at 72. You've also said you've done enough.
Yes.
And then there is a people's
self-assessment where promises are concerned.
Yes.
It's not self-assessment where the results framework is concerned. The two are not the same.
What do you think that the government's assessment of itself agrees with what the voters' assessment is as of now?
I think it's up to the voters to judge. And,
I am curious to know.
And they'll judge appropriately during
in
elections.
December. I know that. In your assessment, is there a part of it that also tries to see how you're perceived in terms of, because the public will eventually make the decision?
That's part of the reason why we are doing such things, to interact with the public and hear from them and so forth and so on, so we know how to guide the message. Today, you heard a lot of questions. It's because people are not aware of those what we are doing. So that is an opportunity for us to explain. And we need to do more of that. I'm not a communicator, but we need to do
NDC did a green book. Will you do anything similar?
No. I will not advise for a green book.
Why?
Why do we have to?
It has to document your...
Do you have to replicate what NDC does? Then when you go to the green book, you begin to realize that not all that is said is true.
Let me end on the subject of jobs. And I chose that to end because manifesto for 2016 had a broad theme, change and agenda for jobs. And so that clearly tells you the priority you're putting on that. As of today, do you know how many jobs you've created
I
with
think
all your initiatives?
the Minister of Employment has a lot of information of that. He's reported to Cabinet on it. I don't have the facts on me. But new jobs have been created in the Ministry of Education, Health, part-time jobs with NAPCO, and etc. Even Minister of Agric mentioned it. Even Agric Extension officers, about 2,000. New teachers that are being brought in. Planting for Food of Jobs has created temporary jobs. But the job issue is the single most important thing that any government can come across, especially with youth employment. Unemployment has gone down, but it's not enough to clean up the problem that we have. So we have to continuously look for avenues of job creation.
But totally, you know as of government how many jobs you create?
The Minister of Employment has those figures. I don't.
Okay. Yeah, and you trust those figures? You trust those figures?
Oh, yes. From because it is not...
Because it's always been a contested area.
No, I think his information is coming from objective figures from the various ministers. I mean, if the Minister of Health hires 30,000 people, it's objective. Finance hires X number of teachers, education hires X number of teachers.
But this is a new patriotic party. Your pride should be how many jobs the private sector is creating.
No, that is a different... You didn't ask me that question.
Yeah. But okay, I'm asking you that now.
Aha.
Do you know that? Is there a way to measure that?
Yes, there's a way. I don't.
Okay.
But this is part of the work in progress that must be done.
Yeah.
Because the Ministry of Employment has that mandate.
Okay.
It hasn't been easy because there are several ways of getting that information. And so far, I think we have not been able to fully capture that. But it's not an easy task.
Just before we go, you are still a member of parliament.
Yes.
The day of reckoning, before the ultimate day of reckoning, December, it's April. Well, there's a primary.
No, I already know that I'm not contesting the primary in April. I've made a public statement.
Okay.
I've been in parliament, this year will be 4 terms. So I think 16 years of being in parliament is long enough.
You're retiring.
I'm not retiring. I'm not going back to parliament.
Okay, but you be in politics.
Well, once you're a politician, until you die, you're a politician.
In what ways I mean, there are a lot of your colleagues who are also taking the same decision. Alban Babin, for example, said, he told us recently on the same show that he wants to do a lot of civil society work. And what do you want to do once you leave parliament? Have you thought about that yet?
I have not fully drawn up what I'm going to do, but I'll continue to do some of the things I'm doing now in terms of making sure even people in my constituency, I have a school there. I just recently came from the graduation. But I also think that given my experience that once my government is in power, no matter what role I'm playing, I'll always have an opportunity to advise government. I'm a member of the economic management team. I don't know whether I'll continue to do it, but once I'm there, I think I'll continue to give the best of my advice to government.
Okay, so we'll miss your voice in parliament. In the next parliament,
I think
the minority guys will be breathing a bit easier when it comes to the economy.
Maybe they'll be happy.
They'll be happy, yes. I'm grateful that you could join me.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Antonia Kutose.
Thank you.
Dr. Antonia Kutose has been my guest on PM Express on the back of the job fair, which is going to run from today till when does it end?
Thursday.
Thursday. Where they're expecting the public to come and scrutinize the work they've done. You've heard a bit of it. You have to make your own judgment based on what you've heard the minister say and what you see here at the conference center where the government is showcasing its results. The ultimate decision is yours on December 7th. My name is Evan Smith. Enjoy the rest of your day.